let's go global now. A federal judge on Tuesday has extended a temporary order blocking President Trump's administration's plan to fire thousands of federal employees during the government shutdown. The order, called a preliminary injunction, prohibits the administration from issuing reduction in force or RIF notices until the government reopens. Judge Susan Ilson said during a hearing in U.S. District Court in San Francisco, Ilson had imposed a short-term firing freeze known as Temporary Restraining Order, or TRO. That happened on October 15. The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, one of the labor union plaintiffs in the lawsuit, praised the judge's latest order. The American Federation of Government Employees, another plaintiff in the case, has called the ruling a big win for federal workers. Labor unions, which represent federal civilian employees, filed a lawsuit on the eve of the shutdown to preemptively challenge the Trump administration's stated plans to conduct mass layoffs in the event of a lapse in the federal funding. President Donald Trump has said that the shutdown, which is now the second longest ever, gives his administration an opportunity to slash what he has described as Democrat agencies. An Indian-bound tanker filled with Russian crude reversed course and is now idling in the Baltic Sea, a sign of potential disruption in oil trade between the two countries after the U.S. tightened sanctions on Moscow. The Fourier was moving westward in the strait between Denmark and Germany when it turned around on Tuesday and sailed for a short distance before slowing down drastically. A ship tracking data showed this. The Aframax is carrying a cargo sold by Rosneft PJSC, according to Kepler India Central Bank, as accelerated repatriation of gold held abroad. And India Central Bank now holds more than 65% of that. We're still in India, but now we are discussing how its gold reserves at home, nearly double the share from 4 years ago. And the Reserve Bank of India brought back nearly 64 tons of gold in the first 6 months of the financial year that began in April, it said in yearly report on foreign exchange reserves. In value terms, gold accounted for 13.92% of total reserves at the end of September. That's up from 11.70 at the end of March. The RBI generally keeps part of its gold overseas, held at the Bank of England and the Bank for International Settlements. Now, China has brought at least 2 cargoes of U.S. soybeans, and that's its first known purchase this season, which may mark a revival of flows as part of a wider settlement expected to be agreed between the two biggest economies this week. The shipments are booked for delivery later on this year, according to some of the traders, and they've asked that this matter is a continuous one, which they will continue to follow up. And then we go to Australia, where inflation has accelerated in the third quarter, with consumer prices rising 3.2% from a year earlier. That's the fastest pace in more than a year. The Australian Bureau of Statistics shared the numbers, and the increase topped 2.1% rise in the second quarter and came in above 3% forecast by economists. The ABS said that the most significant price rises were in housing, recreation, culture, and transport. Trimmed mean inflation rate, which excludes extreme price changes in consumer goods and services, rose 3% from 2.7% last quarter. That's the fastest increase in trimmed mean inflation since December 2022. The 3.2% headline rate pushed inflation beyond the Reserve Bank of Australia's 2 to 3% target band for the first time since the second quarter of 2024. A look at some corporates now. Apple and Microsoft shares they rose, pushing the companies over a market cap of $4 trillion. $4 trillion. And both companies are still behind Nvidia, which is the world's most valuable company with a market cap of over $4.6 trillion. Microsoft previously had hit $4 trillion benchmark. That happened in July. However, Apple closed just below $4 trillion, while Microsoft held the valuation. The Microsoft stocks we saw climb 2% on that news, finalized at 27% stake in OpenAI's for-profit business. Talking about NVIDIA, Nokia has announced that NVIDIA is taking a $1 billion stake in the networking company. That's the latest partnership for the artificial intelligence chip maker. Shares of Nokia, of course, they soared on this news, 22% higher following that. Nokia will issue more than 166 million new shares and will use the proceeds to fund its plans for AI and other general corporate purposes. And the two companies also struck a strategic partnership to work together to develop next generation 6G cellular technology. Nokia says that it would adapt its 5G and 6G software to run on NVIDIA's chips and will collaborate on networking technology for AI. And Swiss banking group UBS Group, they have reported a profit before tax of $2.8 billion for the third quarter of 2025, and that indicates a 47% increase from a year earlier as the lender advanced its integration of Credit Suisse and achieved most savings ahead of schedule. Net profit attributable to shareholders rose 74%, that's to $2.5 billion, according to the quarterly statement. The Zurich-based bank says that underlying profit before tax increased 50% to $3.6 billion. That's it on Global News for today. And also, that's it for Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. 55 minutes of current and relevant business talks. We'll do it again tomorrow, but I'll see you at 1:30 for Business Incorporated. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Take care.